I got to admit, this is one of the better videos I put up that happens at hearings. Trey Gowdy was his usual spectacular self, but I strongly recommend that you've got to see Jason Chaffetz at the second part of this video. I hope you enjoy it.
Carolina, Mr. Gowdy for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Burson, Secretary Johnson is quoted as saying that there were legal limits on his ability to do some background investigations. I think that was a really unfortunate phrase that he used, but let's you and I see if we can kind of demystify that a little bit. Do you agree that non-citizens who are not in the United States are not afforded any protections under the Fourth Amendment?
That's my understanding, Mr. Gowdy.
Well, you were a U.S. attorney. You're being modest. Not only is that your understanding, it's also the law. The Fourth Amendment does not apply to non-U.S. citizens who are not here any more than the Eighth Amendment applies to non-U.S. citizens who are not here. Would you agree with me that there is no legal bar to accessing data from non-citizens who are not present in the United States?
Absent a treaty to the contrary, that's my understanding, sir.
Would you also agree with me that there is no legal right to immigrate to the United States? It's a privilege that we confer on people, but it is not a right.
That's correct, sir.
So would you also agree that you can condition the conference of a privilege on just about anything you want, so long as you don't violate a treaty or
the Constitution?
Or the Constitution. But you made, I'm sure, extensive use of polygraphs when you were the United States Attorney.
From time to time, yes, sir.
All right, and they're not admissible in court, are they?
Not generally, no.
But we still use them because they're a very effective investigative tool. Do we use them in the vetting of people who want to come here?
With regard to immigration benefits, I'm not familiar with the policy in the refugee context. We do not regularly use a polygraph. If there's significant doubt in the operational component, given the border authorities that ICE and CBP have, typically the decision would be made to bar entry rather than to go to the extent of trying to ascertain veracity.
But you and I didn't just use polygraphs in our previous lives because we had doubt. Sometimes it incents the person to want to embrace the truth when they think it might be a threat that they're going to be polygraphed. I mean, you certainly can't admit it in court. So it's not only the result, deception or otherwise, it is the threat that you may be polygraphed that sometimes provides people with the incentive to either tell the truth or they need not apply in the first place, right?
That can be one reaction from an individual, and I'm not aware, Mr. Gowdy, of any policy that would prevent that. I'm also not aware operationally, as a former CBP commissioner, that it's been used in any regular way.
Well, let me tell you where I find myself. I just listened to Ben Rhodes give a series of words like extensive, thorough, careful. I have heard tough. I have heard multiple, all in connection with the word vetting. It's all amplified the word vetting. And I just sat here and thought, well, if all of that was true, how did we miss the lady in San Bernardino?
As the FBI director said, Mr. Gowdy, and I think is the fact that there was nothing in the system that we used that would pick that up. There was no data that we would turn into actionable information to deny admission.
I get you, Mr. Burson, but I got to be candid with you. That doesn't make me feel any better. I mean, it's one thing to argue that there was information there and we missed it. That's one set of corrective measures. It's another thing to argue, as I hear we are currently arguing, this administration, that we missed nothing. So we have someone willing and capable of killing 14 people, and there was nothing in her background that this administration says we missed or should have picked up on, and yet there's still 14 dead people. So how does that make us feel better?
Mr. Gowdy, I think I don't think anyone would gainsay the sense of tragedy, and I don't think anyone's saying that were that information, that data in the system, that we would not all be relieved and thankful if it had led to the apprehension of those murderers. The issue that you asked is factually, were there data in the system by which we could tell that this risk existed? And the answer to that is no. I think the inquiry that's being made here today is a valid one, as Director Rodriguez suggests, and that we need to actually look at this hard and long in terms of the utilization of means. I will say that there is no secret policy in DHS against the use of social media, and there is nothing in the privacy policy that would bar it for screening purposes.
Well, it couldn't be, because it doesn't apply to non-U.S. citizens. I'm out of time. I just want to tell you the dichotomy as I see it. We have a choice. We can either tell the American people that our process and our systems are flawed, and that we have missed information that is otherwise available, and let them deal with that, or we can just tell our fellow citizens we missed nothing. We did everything we were supposed to do, and there's still 14 funerals in California, so you just need to get used to the risk. Neither one of those is acceptable, I would argue to you.
Gowdy, I've not heard anyone who was involved in law enforcement or in the Homeland Security enterprise that wouldn't say that we need to strengthen our systems. We've been doing that continuously for the 14 years since 9/11.
Well, gentleman's time has expired.
Forgive me for noticing the trend of extending time, but I will yield back.
Yes, you will. To get back to us with this question, Ms. Bond, you wrote in your testimony, since 2001, the department has revoked approximately 122,000 visas for a variety of reasons, including nearly 9,500 for suspected links to terrorism. Of the 122,000 revoked visas, how many of those people are still in the United States?
I don't know.
Doesn't that scare you?
Many of the people whose visas are revoked were not in the United States when we revoked the visa.
You have no idea how many of those people are in the United States. Of the revoked visas, do you give those to the Department of Homeland Security?
Exactly. We revoked the visa, and the information is...
So Homeland Security, how many revoked visas are still in the United States of America?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have that.
You don't have a clue, do you? These are people that State Department, who gave a visa, thought about it, got more information, and decided, we better revoke that. 9,500 were tied to terrorists, and you don't have a clue who they are, do you?
No, Mr. Chairman, please understand that I head up the Office of Policy. The operational components that would have that information are...
when will I get that? When will I get that information?
See if we can find that.
When will I get that information?
If the operational representatives have that information, we'll provide it to you when the hearing starts up again. If not, we'll get it to you as soon as we can. I do not administer...
Mr. Rodriguez, do you have anything to add to that?
We are not the operational component.
Okay.
I don't.
Is a visa overstay a key indicator of a threat to public safety and potential terrorism? Mr. Burson?
It could be, depending on the facts, but given the number of people involved in who come into this country, who are processed 1 million people a day, I don't suspect it's a large fraction at all. No, sir.
Of the terrorist attacks that have happened in the United States, it's been a disproportionate number, hasn't it? How quickly we forget about 9/11? 19, I believe, of those people are visa overstays, correct? It's not even in the top 3 priorities for the Secretary of Homeland Security. That's what I got a problem with. This memo of November 20th, 2014, where the Secretary outlines the priorities for deportation, category number 2. And I want you to understand what I'm seeing at the end of category. This is, again, not the top priority for removal, but number 2. These aliens should be removed unless there are factors indicating the alien is not a threat to national security, border security, or public safety, and should not therefore be an enforcement priority. Now, I don't know how you come to that conclusion about they're not a threat to public safety, border security, or national security. First of all, they're here illegally. That should be enough in my book. But let me list to you the offense of domestic violence, sexual abuse or exploitation, burglary, unlawful possession of a firearm, drug distribution or trafficking, driving under the influence. And that is not an automatic deportation? You got to be kidding me. And to think that they might, do you think that's terrorism if a woman's raped? Do you, Mr. Burson?
Do I think that that is terrorism?
Yeah.
No, but it's an egregious, horrible crime, which is the father of
I tell you what,
daughters, I think is a horrible
It
crime.
is for that woman. It is for that family. And you don't deport them. How do you do that? You give them an excuse to make a decision, put some poor officer there to say, you know, maybe they should go ahead and stay here in this country. We had more than 66,000 criminal aliens in your control, and you let them go. You didn't deport them, you let them go. Why do you do that?
Mr. Chairman, the policy provides that if they are a threat to national security or border security or public safety, that they are eligible.
Give me a
for
scenario when a
priority.
woman gets raped and the person's here illegally, that they're not a threat to public safety. Explain to me that scenario.
I didn't say that. I said that they would
That's
be
what the
subject-
memo says.
They would be subject, I believe the memo says, unless they are a threat to border security, unless they are not a threat to border security, national.
How are they
security,
not
public
a
safety.
threat? How are they not a threat to public safety?
If I may, if a woman is raped and the perpetrator is convicted of rape, that is a felony, that is a serious crime, that is a top priority for removal. So
No,
I'm
it's
sure-
not. It is not the top priority.
I'm not sure
It's
where
priority number 2 for the Department of Homeland Security, so says the memo.
that person would be removed.
It doesn't say that. It says unless there are factors indicating the alien is not a threat or should not therefore be an enforcement priority. Jay Johnson went out of his way to tell people if you commit rape, if you're in a DUI situation,
I do
if
not.
you commit burglary, don't necessarily deport these people.
Respectfully, Congressman, I don't think you are reading that policy correctly. Rape is a serious crime that is a removable offense.
It is a
That
removable
is the
offense
policy.
unless, and it's priority number 2 for the Department of Homeland Security. I want some answers about that. I'm going to give you a copy to read. You're going to have a half hour to go through it, and I want to understand why you let 66,000 criminal aliens remain in the United States of America. That's a threat to the homeland. That's a threat of terrorism. And that's a threat to every American. Those people should be priorities for removal. And you had them in your possession, and you let them go. You did not deport them.
Chairman,